The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.
Public broadcasters' funding will increase by 18.9 million lari in 2023 and hit a record high 101 million according to the draft budget submitted by the government to the parliament. The figure is significantly high compared to any private broadcaster's income from advertising. Correspondingly, the public broadcaster will retain the rank of the richest TV channel for the next year as well. According to the law on broadcasting, the budget funding for the public broadcasting company is tied to the size of the GDP of Georgia. Therefore, its increase is conditioned by the growth of the nominal gross domestic product. To promote climate finance and capital market development in Georgia, IFC has stepped in as an anchor investor in the country's first green bond with a subscription of 20 million USD in the $80 million issuance. This is the largest domestic corporate bond placement in Georgia to date. The bond issuer is Georgian Renewable Power Operations, an affiliate of Georgia Capital, a leading investment management company in the country. The landmark transaction and IFC's anchor subscription is expected to help mitigate climate change by avoiding around 170,000 tons of CO2 emissions annually, equivalent to greenhouse gases from over 33,000 vehicles. The aim is to boost private sector-led renewable energy generation and energy independence in a country where over 30% of demand is met by imports and gas-fired thermal plants, and electricity consumption is increasing. The Asian Development Bank invested 4 million USD in a green bond issued also by Georgian Renewable Power Operations, which will use the funds to support its ongoing operations. The investment will also provide additional capital for GRPO's parent company, Georgian Renewable Power Company Group, to support its renewable energy business. ADB's investment forms part of an 80 million USD issue by GRPO of a 5-year green bond, Georgia's first domestically listed green bond and the largest bond to be listed on the Georgian Stock Exchange. ADB will also administer a 4 million USD subscription to the bond by leading Asia's private infrastructure fund, LEAP. McDonald's Georgia continues to expand and open new restaurants across the country. A brand new facility was opened in the vicinity of Isani Mall. Tengiz Kapanadze, General Director of McDonald's Georgia, declares that the company is planning to expand and add new facilities in the cities of the region. As he notes, Gori is attractive for investment, which is in the area of their vision. This is The Checkpoints. I'm Elena Kvanchilashvili, author and the host of the show, and the Checkpoints team is ready to give you the sense of business and economic week. Georgia has been ranked 13th among the United States, Great Britain, China, and the world's major economies in Bloomberg Media's recent ranking for investor interest, Economy Minister Levan Davitashvili said on Monday. Davitashvili highlighted the ranking by a leading international media and analytical group, noting 3,351 heads of leading companies in 15 countries had named Georgia as a popular destination for making investments for the index. Davitashvili said the country's key investment sectors, sustainable economic situation, access to skilled workforce, government incentives for foreign investors, environmental, social, and governance-related questions had been taken into consideration for the ranking, and added the study showed over 400 leading international investors were considering investing in Georgia in the next 3 years, while 70% of interested investors were optimistic about the country's economy, which he said was significantly higher than the global average of 55%. The minister also cited the study as saying the country's strategic location and the advantages the local authorities had ensured for investors had led to the entry of such international companies into Georgia as Fortune 500 brands Concentrix, Majorel, EPAM, Viber, and Godel Technologies. More on investments. The Netherlands is a very important strategic partner for our country as we cooperate not only politically but economically and financially as well. Last week we were fortunate enough to host the ambassador of the Netherlands to Georgia, Maaike van Koldam, at BMG. Our analyst Georgi Aronia spoke to the ambassador about the European Union trade and tourism.
Hi there. We could confidently say that the Kingdom of the Netherlands, its government, its business sector and its citizens are among the warmest supporters of our country. It is evident by the numerous projects carried out and supported by the Embassy of the Netherlands and the rapidly developing trade relations between the two states. During the first 8 months of 2022, the trade turnover between the two countries grew by 20.9% to $136.6 million. Foreign direct investment is growing too. During the first 8 months of this year, Georgia received an FDI of $79 million from the Netherlands, representing a 30.8% growth year on year, with the energy sector leading the race. Interestingly, during the second quarter of 2022, Georgia received an FDI of $44.7 million, thus placing the Western European nation in the second place in the rankings. What drives the relations between the Netherlands and Georgia? What are the priorities of the Dutch embassy? These are some of the questions I will discuss today with the ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to Georgia, Her Excellency Maaike van Koldam. Greetings, it's a pleasure to have you here at BMG. Madam Ambassador, let's begin with the broadest question possible. It's been more than 6 years since your term as an ambassador to Georgia began, and this time you experienced the pandemic, you experienced the war in Ukraine. So how could you summarize these three years?
Well, as you say, it's been very hectic. Lots of things have happened in these 3 years. So one summary would be never a dull moment. There was the COVID period, which was very difficult for everybody in Georgia, for the people in the Netherlands, but we felt in very safe hands in Georgia. We were taken well care of, and I have great admiration how your medical staff did their utmost to protect people. And in spite of pandemic, of course, I could not travel. I was limited in my movement, but since then, I've been traveling a lot. I'm meeting far more people. I'm getting to know the regions of Georgia, and that is really a big privilege. And to sum it up, we actually kept doing what we always do. We support civil society, we continued our consular services, and we continued supporting businesses. And I'm really pleased to be here today to talk about the business side of it and any other element that you would like to discuss.
Apart from the pandemic and the war in Ukraine, there were rather series of events happening in Georgia related to Georgia's European integration. And the failure to receive the EU candidacy status. Instead of that, we received a 12-point recommendation letter from the EU, and several months have passed since then. So how would you rate the government's job ever since we received the document? What is going on and what more needs to be done?
Well, you mentioned the war in Ukraine, and I wanted to also, in relation to my first question, mention that that has, of course, a huge impact on the whole world. It's a horrible war after Russia's invasion, and it's just utter tragedy what's happening also today. So we totally condemn that. On the European perspective, that is a milestone. Georgia has European perspective, and that is a big step. And the 12 recommendations, they're to be taken very seriously, and I think everybody's working hard on that. And what we would like to do is, of course, we continue supporting Georgia in acting upon these 12 recommendations, and then it's important to have the legislation in place, to implement the legislation, but also to make it an inclusive process and involve for instance, civil society organizations, and also to make it a cross-party joint interest, because I think that's in the best interest of Georgia.
Would you say that the steps need to be taken faster at this point?
It's not up to me to put a time limit on it. It's very important that the steps are taken thoroughly, and that it's not just ticking boxes. It consists of various components, as I just mentioned. So I would say the best thing is to do it thoroughly in an inclusive way, and then I really do hope that we will see the progress that can be there.
Let's talk about trade relations
Yes.
between our two countries. As I mentioned in my introduction, the Netherlands is a very important, even strategic partner for Georgia in terms of trade relations. What are, based on your experience, based on your communication with Dutch investors and even Georgian companies too, what are the areas that Dutch investors are most interested in Georgia?
Well, obviously agriculture. The Netherlands is the second largest exporter of agriculture expertise and products, not even per capita, but just in absolute terms, which means we have a huge expertise to share, and we're eager to share that. We are sharing that with Georgian farmers and businesses. We do that in a very hands-on way, like we train farmers, we team up, we learn from each other. We do that in, for instance, seeds to make a better crop, higher quality, food safety on the implementation of the DCFTA, that's very essential, but also in the dairy industry. In logistics, we can team up. We have a big port in Rotterdam, and Georgia also has this aspiration to be a regional hub like the Netherlands is. So those are amongst two areas that are very interesting and things happening. But also, of course, tourism, that's very essential, hospitality sector. Dutch people love to come to Georgia, and I could go on, but yes, so we're working on all of that.
In general, how would you rate the investment climate here, and what could be done to bring more and more Dutch companies and Dutch investors to Georgia?
I think quite a lot of Dutch companies are doing well. What is important, though, for Dutch companies is to feel that their investment is secure and that there is equal level playing field for all companies, meaning that if you have a problem or an obstacle, that you can go to a court that looks at it totally independently. And for that, it is important that judiciary reform indeed happens, and there's already a lot being done, but I think it's in the recommendation, so we're looking at that. There is a link also to human rights. I think Georgia, we really appreciate the steps that have been taken in Georgia and very much support that. There was one day last year that was really a black day, was the 5th of July, the LGBTQI, the Pride, the aggression against media. That was a very black day, unfortunately. 6th of July was much better, and this year we've been very good Pride events, and we're very happy to see that and count on that protection to be provided in the years to come. And I'm mentioning this because it's a very important topic in our foreign policy, and it is also important for investors to see that not only their own staff is safe, but that it's an inclusive climate. And I think there's progress, and we're eager to keep supporting that. And there's also, I should mention, I hope I'm not jumping to your other questions, but for instance, what we do see in the financial sector, we have the Dutch Entrepreneurial Development Bank, FMO, and that just provided a huge loan agreement with Credobank, 100 million lari, and that's to provide loans to small and medium enterprise, youth, female entrepreneurs, and they do that because they have trust in the financial sector. So there is many fields where we team up and hope to get together in a very good place.
Another agricultural aspect
Yes.
of the business that I want to talk to you about is wine production. And just this week you
Yes,
visited.
I was.
Yeah, you visited
Yes.
the harvest. So, how acceptive of Georgian wine are the Dutch people in general, and what could
Yeah.
we do to increase our exports to the Netherlands?
We know that's by far the easiest question of any interview, because Dutch people, they love Georgian wine. It's very famous. I think we should find more of it in our supermarkets. And having just been in Sinandali and at the Wine Fest, it's just magnificent. You see all these various producers, a huge variety of grapes, but I also met some very young entrepreneurs who think about their product, the packaging, the marketing, and that's just, that's a great diversity that I think should be even known better to the world and enjoyed.
So, based on your experience and your communication with investors, what are the main challenges that they face in Georgia?
Challenges, well, there's a lot of opportunities again. There is the ease of doing business, to start a company, favorable tax climate, good trade agreements with other countries. Important element remains indeed the judicial reform. That I think is important, and also political stability. And when I speak about politics a little bit, though, in this broadcast, I think what's often mentioned is the polarization. And that's also why I said never a dull moment. And for someone from a Dutch background, we are a little bit more, well, we're slightly different, let's put it that way. But I do see that in spite of polarization, things happen. And I only wish that polarization could indeed also be diminished and to get to business together. But I must say that I have respect how the country manages to prosper and develop economically speaking in spite of very hard times, COVID, war in Ukraine, and all these challenges.
How easy is communication with the governmental agencies for Dutch investors here in Georgia?
I think there's this great enterprise Georgia, and I visited them, and they're very, very open to advice, to accompany companies, a very energetic director. So to have that kind of agency and that information available is very good. And I must say, in general, our counterparts at any level, administration, local, central government, are very open to us, and that is an important element. I feel very much at home as an ambassador, and I do feel that I can speak to many people and have a listening ear whenever, and that's really appreciated. Yes.
What are your plans for the remainder of this year?
Well, to do everything that I couldn't do in 2 years of COVID, to do that in the rest of the year. And it's because it's such a pleasure to be here, and I want to make the most of it. Not for myself, of course, although I enjoy it, but for the country, for our bilateral relations. So we keep doing what we did, and we are going to do it even faster, better, more. And that is our support to civil society, our support to Dutch businesses, not to forget our consular services, our public diplomacy. We try to do cultural events because there's so many highly motivated and energetic counterparts. I can't wait to go out again and work with everybody because it's really a pleasure to work in Georgia.
That's very nice to hear. And what are your plans for the next year? Do you expect the situation change a little bit? Maybe you'll adjust your plans towards that?
Well, you know, this is maybe the hardest question of this interview, totally opposite to the lovely question on Georgian wine. A lot depends, of course, as well on the geopolitical context, the war in Ukraine, which I'm quite sure that Ukraine will win. It influences a lot. But as I just said, in spite of these challenging times, lots of things are continuing. So I intend to do what I did, to do it even more, and to be open to feedback what we could do even better, and to team up, also in line with these 12 action points or advice, to do that together, to keep supporting Georgia, because it's also our 30-year diplomatic relations between the Netherlands and Georgia, and I couldn't be in a better background than I'm here. So yes, that's also something that we celebrate, and we want to be a trusted friend and are a trusted friend of Georgia.
You definitely are. And my last question would be, you know, Georgia found itself in a very difficult situation globally,
Yes.
Because of geopolitics, because of economy, all of that. So what would your advice be to the country as a whole? You know, how should we behave in these difficult times? What should we do?
Well, I think having the European perspective, my advice would indeed be to implement those 12 recommendations, action points, because they're in essence will help Georgia in being a prosperous, democratic country, and a lot of that has been reached already. So my advice would be, if I am in the position to give an advice, but you're asking me to work on those, and Team Europe, we are part of Team Europe, is on Georgia's side, and I think, and by the way, also very relevant, financially speaking, we are, Georgia's in the constituency group of the Netherlands in World Bank, IMF and EBRD, and because of that, we have a lot of activities also between our ministries of finance, which will help. And last but not least, if I may, another 30 seconds of your time. Just last week, I was in Parliament because we have this twinning project. EU, Georgia, and the Netherlands participates in improving, enhancing financial oversight by Parliament in the budget sector. So we try to be in many, many different fields together.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Ambassador, for everything that you're doing, and we certainly hope to see Georgia in a better place quite soon.
Thank
My
you.
guest today was the ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands to Georgia, Her Excellency Maaike van Koldum. As statistics tell us, the Netherlands is Georgia's crucial partner, so let's hope that in the years to come, the relationship between the two states will flourish not only politically, but economically and financially.
High time to see how business did during the week and beyond, and our reporter Natia Taktakishvili will tell us more about this week's Business Wire.
Tbilisi Hills will build a solar energy park with a capacity of 0.5 megawatt on an area of 7,000 square meters in its own complex located in Gardabani municipality. $500,000 have been allocated for construction. The permit for the construction of the park has already been agreed with Gardabani municipality. According to the company, the station will start operating late this month. European countries have been making investment in this direction for years. In Georgia, Tbilisi Hills is one of the first to introduce this trend. The use of solar energy will become even more relevant in the future as a clean source of electricity. The marketing manager of Tbilisi Hills told BMG. Project Tbilisi Hills is located in Teleti, Gardabani municipality and includes residential houses, apartments and land plots. The project also includes a professional golf course and a restaurant. $65 million is already invested in Tbilisi Hills project, and the total investment value of the project is about $400 million. Poultry companies are struggling to maintain production levels because of very high feed prices. Companies note that product price has increased by 20%. The poultry sector is largely dependent on Russia because the feed, including wheat or corn, is imported from there. Due to the Russia-Ukraine war, these products have become significantly expensive. According to Revaz Vashakidze, the founder of Chirina company, a sharp increase in price is expected and the market must say goodbye to cheap chicken, meat and eggs. All ingredients, both imported or local, are increased in price, so product costs will rise even more by 20%. I can give a simple example. The price of fertilizers has increased by almost 100%. If we add logistic costs, it will be reflected in the prices. Our focus is that sharp growth is expected, says Revaz Vashakidze. Gogita Maisuradze, director of Komisi Poultry Company, declares that imported raw materials at dumping prices create a problem for local production, as poultry companies cannot offer low prices to the customers. The problem of imported eggs still exists in the country. Neighboring countries which produce eggs in excess sell imported eggs at dumping prices. Of course, it's possible to compete with imported products, but for that we have to offer low prices and quality eggs to our Georgian customers. However, it's difficult for Georgian manufacturers to reduce the price, explained Maisuradze. As for the issue of price change, according to Maisuradze, the price of eggs in Komisi company has not increased in the last 7 months. Prices for these raw materials have increased by 10-15% compared to the last year. If the main imported food components become more expensive, we will review the price of eggs, said Gogita Maisuradze. Company Ascanelli is expanding its restaurant chain outside the country and plans to open Ascanelli's Georgian house in Dubai, Almaty in 2023. According to Gocha Chkhaidze, founder of the company, the opening of the restaurant in the United Arab Emirates and Kazakhstan is a great success for the company. The company will invest over $2.6 million for the expansion of the restaurant chain in the mentioned locations. Last week, we signed a very interesting agreement with Raffles Hotel in Dubai. The restaurant of the hotel is fully equipped with modern equipment, which is worth about $4 million. So we will have to make a very small investment. Accordingly, on September 1, 2023, a Georgian restaurant will be launched in Dubai. Ascanelli is also planning to open another restaurant with the same concept in April-May 2023 in the city of Almaty in Kazakhstan, Chkhaidze said. Renewed conceptual showroom destination Porsche located in Armachanel-Belle-Oley was officially opened last week. The renovated service center of Porsche Center Tbilisi is one of the first conceptual showroom in the Central and Eastern European region, which was created with destination Porsche concept. The German premium brand plans to implement the reconstruction of other Porsche centers around the world after Tbilisi. Destination Porsche is a modern design showroom that takes into account a special individual approach to the customer. Building of Porsche Center Tbilisi covers an area of 1,800 square meters and includes a showroom and a service center. 7 vehicles can be exhibited in the main hall, while the office area includes 17 work platforms. We have invested up to 20 million GLR for its construction, which is an unprecedented amount for similar projects in Georgian market. We want to make the purchase of a car even more pleasant for the customer of the German premium brand. We are glad that our new showroom will allow us to fully present the brand to Georgian fans. Petre Tsakadze, director of Porsche Center Tbilisi, said. The design of the renovated showroom of Porsche Center Tbilisi was created according to German standards. The white color prevails in the open space, which is further enhanced by the original lighting system. The combination of aluminum and wood texture makes the environment warm and comfortable. The new large-scale space was equipped with modern audio and video systems. Construction company Gravita started to work on renovation of Porsche Center Tbilisi showroom in November 2021. Georgian brand of cotton candy ice cream Bambara is planning to increase its production due to the growing demand of consumers. The founder of the startup, Ani Burduli, told BMG that their plans include adding devices and moving to a new space. Bambara has been operating on the local market for 9 months and offers customers cotton ice cream with coconut, strawberry and kiwi flavors. The startup does not specify the investment required for the business development, although it says that production will double with the adding of machines. Currently, we are producing 500 cotton ice creams per month, and after purchasing an additional machine, the production will be doubled, maybe even tripled. It's planned to add the machines in 2-3 months, and after that we will employ 2-3 additional people. We have already started looking for staff, and Burduli notes. The initial investment for creating the brand was 10,000 GLR. Bambara presented its first products to customers in the form of gift box in January 2022. Initially, cotton ice cream was sold through the social network, and later it became possible to buy Bambara in the branches of Nikora XL. Guanța Nauruzashvili, marketing manager of French children's clothing Cocaid, explains that there is a problem with staff outflow in the company. According to her, one of the reasons for this such outflow is that mostly students are working as a consultants at the store. For them, learning is a priority. The problem of staff shortage is not only ours, but the market in general. A major part of our workforce either goes abroad or leaves their jobs. It's also difficult to find new personnel, and we are working on eliminating this problem and improving the situation. But this remains the biggest challenge. We are trying to create acceptable conditions and attract them as much as possible, Guanța Nauruzashvili explained. The artisan bakery Chelta temporarily stopped working in Skaltubo. Salome Chreidze, founder of the company, told BMG. According to her, Chelta plans to open a new branch and resume work from January. As she notes, the old location of Chelta turned out to be inconvenient and decided to change its location. We stopped working for about a month as the location did not work, and I had to find a new location. It's planned to open a new branch in Skaltubo by January. Even during the summer period, there was no proper work, but the situation was better compared to the winter. The profit increased by about 25%, says Salome Chreidze. Chelta offers customers bread made on natural yeast. Various cookies and their products can be tasted on the spot. Chelta Development Group denoted equipment 26,000 gelari wars for the project, while the founder made an additional investment of 50,000 gelari.
Entrepreneurship and export promotion, again, this time on the example of the bravest country in today's world, Ukraine. Forbes Georgia had the opportunity to interview the acting director of the Entrepreneurship and Export Promotion Office of Ukraine, Mr. Andriy Remizov. Our journalist Georgi Tolordava and Mr. Remizov spoke about this above-mentioned state institution and how it helps Ukrainian entrepreneurs and businesses during these challenging times.
First of all, thank you for your time. I'm glad that you are joining us, and we have an opportunity to interview acting director of the Entrepreneurship and Export Promotion Office of the Ukraine. Mr. Remizov, could you tell us what kind of support can Ukrainian entrepreneurs get during the war, and does the state and the government help private businesses during these times?
Yes, sure. Thank you for your question. So, 2 years before the start of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine in February 2020, the first and only national project for the development of entrepreneurship and export promotion, DA Business, launched by the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine, and in 2021. Our institution, Entrepreneurship and Export Promotion Office, joined to the implementation of this project. And if we are talking about DA Business, DA Business is the national project, and it's a part of the national project DIA, which means state admin. DIA is an acronym, and this is the brand of digital state of Ukraine. And DA Business project helps Ukrainians at all stages of business development, from finding a business idea to entering some international markets. And the project has two components: the DA Business online portal in a one-stop shop format, and the DA Business offline network of support centers for entrepreneurs in Ukrainian regions. Now we have 12 support centers in Ukraine. And the DA Business national portal contains all the necessary information for opening and developing a business on the one resource. We have more than 130 business ideas for potential entrepreneurs. We have templates of necessary legal documents for starting a business, various online services. Also, we have more than 50 free online consultations for SMEs about how to pay taxes, how to create business plan, or how to improve something in business. Yeah, and also we have all the information about state, private support, some cases from business, case studies, current news, and more than 30 free online services. And as of today, the number of visits to the DA Business portal is more than 3 million times. And the DA Business network of support centers for entrepreneurs has already been visited more than 45,000 times.
Really impressive numbers.
Yes, thank you. And since the beginning of the war, we have launched several information sections on the portal, and where we have collected all of the necessary information about existing business support and relocation programs, information about state, donor, and private support programs in war conditions, as well information about assistance to Ukrainians who were forced to leave their homes and evacuated to Poland, Germany, Great Britain, and other countries. in EU. And we also launched an information sections for Ukrainian exporters, which contains information on requirements for exporting during wartime, state and private support programs, a partner search service, and other information. Also, we launched the special virtual center for forcible displaced people from Ukraine. The DIA Business Virtual Center is an innovative hotline format, and the specialist can give free advice on how to register a business in EU, or how to find a job, or some social guarantees in other countries and something like that. And another development during the war was the opening of the DA Business Support Center for entrepreneurs in Warsaw, in Poland. And here entrepreneurs can get free offline consultations on legal issues, accounting, taxation, auditing requirement of qualified staff, and other types of consultations. And as of today, in this center, we have already provided more than 3,700 consultations free of charge for Ukrainians. And finally, we have maybe more than 40 services for exporters, potential entrepreneurs, and existing entrepreneurs. And I will present a little bit more in our interview.
So you're giving all the strategic information for free for the entrepreneurs?
Yes, sure. It's a governmental support, and we collect all of this free of charge for SMEs.
That's great. So you are a business accelerating platform, but on a government level, right?
Yes, we can say that we are like the huge free of charge national project
Database
for SMEs.
center.
Yeah, from government.
That's quite
Yes.
interesting. Also, I was wondering, during these challenging times, how did Ukrainian businesses adapt to the war and this changing situation?
Okay, so if we're talking about some statistics, so Ukrainian businesses suffered colossal shock and losses in the first months of the war, and we launched some special initiative for analyze of the state of Ukrainian businesses during the war. And only in March, Ukrainian exporters decreased by 50% from the same period in March 2021. According to estimates as of the beginning of the summer, about 47% of entrepreneurs have completely or almost completely stopped working, unfortunately. And the war also intensified the closure of businesses in Ukraine. On average, 13,000 businesses entities were closed every month, which by mid-July exceeded the number of registered new commercial enterprises. And currently, Ukrainian businesses shows a slow but we can say positive recovery every month. And for example, now 34% of enterprises have completely, almost completely stopped working. So we can see the positive dynamics since February 24. And export activation to a large extent began at the end of August, and which is connected with the, I think, unblocking of seaports it's a positive signal for Ukrainian business, and they actively work now in export field. And also the lack of sufficient number of solvent customers in the domestic market is the main problem for business now, unfortunately, which prevents recovery and development. And one of the strategies for overcoming the negative consequences of the war for Ukrainian businesses is export. And we see that a recent survey of entrepreneurs, which we conduct regularly with partners, show that more than 40% of companies consider the development of exports as an important direction for themselves. And in our office, we have confirmation of this thesis. And this year we received more than 800 applications for participations in some special long-term training program for exporters, Export Academy. So we see that Ukrainian business has a lot of problems, unfortunately, but they are interested in export field, and they use some instruments for that.
Yeah, that's great to hear good news from Ukraine, and in particular in the export direction. My next question is about new opportunities for Ukrainian manufacturers. For example, how does Ukraine help its manufacturers to master new international markets and promote their products abroad?
Thank you. That's the good and interesting question. So, if you're talking about entrepreneurship and export promotion office, we are a state institution that implements the DA Business National Project, as I mentioned before, and one of the main directions on our activities is to help Ukrainian companies enter international markets. In this direction, we help Ukrainian businesses by improving educational competences when entering a foreign market and finding partners abroad, as well as organize national stands or national pavilions of Ukraine at international exhibitions, where Ukrainian companies can present and show their products to the world, and hold some B2B meetings with potential partners and find like a new contracts for themselves. And the office also helps not only with the organization of Ukrainians stand and exhibitions, but also with the organizing of the B2B meetings with foreign companies. And we have also a lot of tools for this, like a request from business. And in 2022, we together with our team, and with our partners, international donors, we organized 4 national pavilions at large-scale international exhibitions. More than 50 Ukrainian companies from the organic, machine building, furniture, and IT sectors of Ukraine took part in these events. And in total, Ukrainian companies held more than 700 B2B meetings with potential foreign partners. And in 2022, we plan to organize additional two more national stands in Sweden and in Dubai. And in January and February 2023, we also plan to organize the national stands and pavilions of Ukraine at the largest world exhibitions of organic products, BioFach, and at the large-scale furniture exhibitions, Winter Las Vegas market. And we we want to help SMEs and entrepreneurs to participate in some event, such as I mentioned before, to share and to present Ukrainian products to the world, and we want to show that Ukraine has a lot of interest in companies, a lot of interest in products, and our companies ready to export and ready to cooperate with foreign partners during the war. And also our team is constantly developing studies of foreign markets, which are available free of charge in DA Business Trade with Ukraine portal. Yeah, we have a separate section of the DA Business portal only for exporters. It's called DA Business Trade with Ukraine. And currently the number of these studies is more than 50 studies. So how does it work? Entrepreneurs can choose the country to which they want to export their products and get a quantity with trends, information with trends, market competitors for free of charge, and receive some recommendation on marketing on specific market or something like that.
That's
And
quite impressive. I'd say I've never heard of a function like that on the government level. That's amazing.
Thank you very much. And that's only a small part of our services. Also, we have a special long-term program for exporters. As I mentioned before, Export Academy. We launched this program a few months ago, and approximately more than 8,000 Ukrainian companies expressed the desire to participate in this program, and we have this program like a special instrument for improving competencies of exporters. And on a regular basis, our office conducts educational sectoral webinars projects. For example, how to communicate with some customers during the war, how to digitalize your business or something like that. And also we consult business with very specific questions and topics and requests. For example, how to make a diagnosis of the market, a specific market, or how to trade with some companies. And we consult also with these questions and provide a lot of digital services.
That's great to hear. Where can foreign companies look for business partners in Ukraine, for example, if they want to partner with Ukrainian companies? Is there any kind of special platform for it? Do you have it?
Yes, sure. For this request, we have also developed a special web page on the DA Business Trade with Ukraine portal, and it's named like a catalog of Ukrainian exporters, and foreign companies can use this special online tool and find partners in Ukraine. This catalog contains a verified, up-to-date database of contacts of Ukrainian companies ready to supply products abroad in wartime conditions. It's very important. Since the beginning of the war, we checked more than 500 Ukrainian exporters. And in this catalog, we have approximately more than 400 Ukrainian companies who actively work now, and they are ready to find some partners abroad. And if some foreign companies want to find partner in Ukraine, they can contact our entrepreneurship and export promotion office, or directly by email, sourcing at epo.org.ua, And our specialists can help foreign companies to find a business partner in Ukraine according to like a business request, and we collect all of the business requests from foreign countries and publish it on the DA Business portal, and our companies also communicate with potential partners from different countries.
Understood. How can foreigners support Ukrainian producers and the country's economy? Is there any kind of platform for it?
The general thing is to buy Ukrainian products on the shelves of supermarkets around the world. It can also be done on the national marketplace of Ukrainian goods, which we launched together with our partners at the beginning of autumn. The name of the marketplace is Made with Bravery, and you can find a lot of Ukrainian products on this marketplace and buy it in online format, and you can do it by the link shop.brave.ua. And also on this webpage, foreign partners and citizens can automatically donate some funds to infrastructure facilities that were damaged or destroyed by Russian troops. And I'd like to recommend to visit this portal Made with Bravery to find some products from Ukraine. And the second point is to boycott Russian and Belarusian goods and services in every possible way, and not to buy the products of the aggressors' countries. It's the general rule for support Ukraine. The first one, to engage in partnership with Ukrainian companies and trade with Ukraine. As I mentioned before, we have a lot of services for our foreign partners. You can find Ukrainian companies and Ukrainian goods and services using the special catalog of Ukrainian exporters. So you can just go to the DA Business portal and find a lot of information about Ukraine and Ukrainian companies. And finally, to support the struggle of Ukrainians in the information space, it's very important, and the world should know about all of the crimes that Russia commits against the people of Ukraine every day, unfortunately. And we must all together fight against terrorists in every possible way. And I think that's the all of the points which can help us to win this war and make Ukraine more stronger. Yeah, and I think that's all. Yeah, Slava Ukraini.
Hello, Ukraine. Thank you for the interview. I mean, what you have managed during these challenging times during the war is quite amazing. And I think a lot of books will be written about your bravery of your people. I hope and I'm sure that Ukraine will prevail and win in this war. And I wish you all the best. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for this interview. Thank you for your support.
And back to Georgia. The checkpoints will now update you on main aspects and decisions in the economy.
In 2021, the average monthly nominal earnings of employees increased by 9.5% compared to 2020 and amounted to 1,304 GLR, show the preliminary data from the National Statistics Office of Georgia. As of the document, in 2021, the average monthly earnings increased in most sectors compared to 2020. According to the economic activity, the highest monthly earnings were observed in the following fields: financial and and insurance activities, professional, scientific and technical activities, information and communication. In 2021, the average monthly earnings equaled to 1,055 gelari for women, while 1,537 gelari for men. The annual growth of earnings amounted to 10.8% for women and 9.2% for men. In the majority of sectors of economic activities, the average monthly earnings of men were higher compared to women, the document reads. The first Deputy Minister of Finance, Giorgi Kakauridze, declares that the positive effect of the employment program will be to reduce the number of socially vulnerable people. The Deputy Minister noted that the Ministry of Health will implement a monitoring system to increase the effectiveness of the program. Such a program is needed, but the effectiveness of this program must be improved. The program started this year, and the Ministry of Health is planning to develop a certain monitoring system that will help people to be engaged in the program as much as possible and exclude the fact that someone take the salary for nothing. The Ministry of Health is working in this direction, and we will be able to evaluate this program in 1 year. In the end, the positive effect of the program will be that it will reduce the number of vulnerable citizens, said Kakauridze. 40 million gelari will be spent this year for the government program to promote the employment of vulnerable citizens. The Georgian government on Monday held a meeting led by Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili to discuss a range of topics, including the approval of the strategy for the development of the capital market of Georgia and related action plan for the next 6 years. The government administration said that the strategy would contribute to uniformity of the country's economic space, freedom of economic activity, and establishment of a competitive and stable investment environment. The strategy was developed with the active involvement of the relevant government agencies, private sector representatives, Asia Development Bank experts and consultants. The document is fully consistent with our obligations towards the European Union, that is, the obligations defined by the Association Agreement are fully reflected in the Capital Market Development Strategy and its action plan, Economy Minister Levan Davitashvili said. Levan Davitashvili, the Georgian Minister for Economy, on Monday said the government was expecting about $3 billion USD income from the domestic tourist sector this year, which would mark a number of close to the pre-pandemic figure of $3.2 billion USD. Speaking to the media, the minister said the tourist sector recovery process was ongoing actively, even outside seasonal periods. I believe the recovery process will continue proactively. Between July and September, tourist income outperformed that in the pre-pandemic period. The winter season is expected to be active thanks to restored flights to a number of directions, said the minister. The draft law, which provides for the establishment of a visa regime for the citizens of the Russian Federation as a state implementing military occupation, has been initiated in the parliament. The authors of the draft law are opposition MPs Anna Natsulishvili, Shalva Shavgulidze, Salome Samadashvili and David Usupashvili. According to the draft law, unlike the general rule, it will be possible to obtain a tourist visa only at the border crossing point open for international visitors on the state border of Georgia as a result of inspection carried out by the authorized body of Ministry of Internal Affairs of Georgia. Persons who hold the citizenship of the Russian Federation but had the citizenship of Georgia and left it or lost it will be exempted from legal restrictions. According to the bill, before entering Georgia, a citizen of Russian Federation must confirm in writing that he/she recognizes territorial integrity of Georgia and that the territories indicated in the law on the occupied territories are occupied by the Russian Federation. Entry to Georgia shall be denied to a person whose belongings or vehicle has non-peaceful symbols. Non-peaceful symbols imply symbols related to the communist, fascist, totalitarian ideology, as well as the military aggression carried out by the Russian Federation in Ukraine. The latter refers to the graphic representation of the Latin letters Z and V, which have become symbols of Russian aggression. The ruling party Georgian Dream initiated an anti-oligarchy bill which was developed on the example of Ukrainian law with a similar content and essentially repeats the norms of the Ukrainian law. According to the bill, an oligarch is a person with sizable economic and political significance in public life, who is a natural person and meets at least three of the following criteria at the same time: participates in political life, has a significant influence on mass media, is the final beneficiary of the entrepreneurial legal entity, which has a dominant position in the market and which maintains or improves this position for 1 year. The conferred amount of his assets and those of entrepreneurial legal entities where he is a beneficiary as of January 1 of the relevant year exceeds 1 million times the subsistence minimum established for working force persons. According to the bill, oligarchs will be included in a special register and they will be restricted from certain financial activities. In particular, the oligarch entered in the register is limited to make donations from his own funds in support of political parties, performing work, providing goods, services or cash in accordance with the election code, making donations to the candidate's election fund, to be a buyer in the process of privatization of large-scale facilities, financing and political campaign, holding gatherings or demonstrations with political demands. Within the scope of the campaign, 100 investment offers for business, the National Agency of State Property of the Ministry of Economy put 155 objects for sale at an electronic auction across the country with an initial value of more than 68 million GLR. The agency disseminates information about these. The list of privatization objects includes the former building of Kutaisi Press House, the territory of the former Kutaisi Cannery, state enterprises and state property attractives for investment in the region. Electronic auction will end on October 19. Speaking to BMG, the agency explains that a discount on the state property is made in case of repeated auctions. According to the agency, all interested persons have an equal opportunity to participate in electronic auctions without any bureaucratic procedures and become the owner of the state asset in a short period of time.
This is all for today. We will meet next Sunday, 11 a.m. sharp again with the most updated news and analysis of the week. Before that, follow us on Forbes.g and BM.g. See you soon.
The Checkpoint is presented by GM Pharma, the first international multinational pharmaceutical company in Georgia. GM Pharma, to serve those who need it most.